Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. Today we have two special guests with us on the podcast, Karen Gomez and Michelle Bayona, who are both part of the Food Bank for Monterey County. Karen Gomez is the Community Partnership Coordinator and Michelle Bayona is the Volunteer Coordinator at the Food Bank. Thank you guys so much for making yourselves available today for this interview. We are really happy to have you two here today. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, food insecurity can be defined as a household-level economic and social condition of limited or uncertain access to adequate food. This has been a growing problem that has been happening worldwide. According to the Food Bank of Monterey County, 1 in 4 residents and 1 in 3 children in the county are currently experiencing food insecurity. This is a pretty tragic situation, and thankfully it's being focused on to hopefully put an end to it. In Monterey County, there have been a variety of programs and services that are here to leave their mark and change the lives of many residents who are experiencing food insecurity. For example, the Food Bank for Monterey County provides food and resources to 160,000 individuals and 60,000 families each month. Along with the food bank, other resources include mobile produce pantries, CalFresh, SNAP, Monterey County WIC, as well as other Catholic charities. Taking a closer look at the Food Bank for Monterey County, they're a nonprofit organization that works with over 145 other nonprofit organizations in the county that have local knowledge on people that need food. Their main mission is to reduce food insecurity. The Food Bank for Monterey County has volunteers who donate more than 400,000 hours of labor. Yes, you heard that right, 400,000 hours of labor. It's pretty amazing to know that all their labor varies from working in the warehouse, distribution and market distribution, events, fundraising, and many other things. Where did you grow up? What can you share about your early experiences? Let's start with Karen.
Okay, so I was actually born and raised here in Salinas, California. I've lived here my whole life. Growing up, I was part of the migrant program. So the only 2 years I recall ever like having to go back and forth between here and Yuma, Arizona was second and third grade. But other than that, it was just too hectic for our family. So I would stay behind with either a aunt or my grandma, and she would just take care of me here in Salinas while my parents left off.
Wow, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing. Michelle, can you tell us more about your early life, where you grew up, any early experiences you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I was actually born here in Salinas as well. But I actually moved at a very young age. I was just a baby when I moved to Arizona. My mom had permanently gotten a job over there, so we stayed there as well. And it wasn't until I want to say maybe 5 years ago where I moved back. I graduated here.
That's great. It sounds like you guys have some similarities with Arizona and both being from Salinas.
Oh, I was actually just going to say we're actually related. We are cousins. So we happen to both work here at the food bank. Yeah.
That is so cool. That's so interesting. Well, that's fun to work with your cousin.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, do either of you have any personal experience with food insecurity? And if so, did this have an impact on you deciding to work with an organization to help relieve food insecurity?
This is Karen. I myself don't have any history with food insecurity. What ultimately made me decide to pursue this career path, I guess you could say, was I happened to get laid off from my job, which was in retail, and I found out that they were hiring, and I applied and I got this job, but it was a different job than what I have now. And I fell in love with the whole nonprofit organization aspect and helping the community. And I've basically been involved ever since. And that made me ultimately decide what I wanted to get my bachelor's degree in, which is in actually nonprofit management and public administration. because I really enjoyed the whole aspect of helping my community and just seeing how food insecure we are in this county, even though we have an overabundance of like all this we're like the agriculture like main place, and to see all this food insecurity is just a bummer.
Yeah, definitely. Especially what you said about living in such an having such a big agricultural economy here in Monterey County. It's definitely interesting to see. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, so I was actually raised by just a single mom, and for us, I do remember when I was younger, we did have to apply for like food stamps. So I feel like this definitely did have an impact, especially growing up. We sometimes would struggle to receive food, and which is why sometimes we would actually go to the food bank over in Arizona. So yeah, that I feel like that also helped me. Getting this job honestly really did help me more learn about my community, and especially seeing all the people in need, like Karen mentioned as well, with all the abundance of food that we have here. Like there's just it's just incredibly sad seeing all that.
Definitely, yeah. Really interesting perspectives from both of you on how you became involved with the food bank. I wanted to ask both of you guys, why do you feel so passionately about food insecurity?
I think ultimately, I think food is what gives you the energy to just like do anything in general. Like without food, you're not really able to function. You can't work on an empty stomach. So considering the fact that I've learned a lot that this community, like with the high rent, the high gas prices, just the high cost of living in this area, people resort to either they need to pay their rent, so they're not going to eat, or if they do eat, they end up getting the cheap, bad, overly processed food. And that's why I'm passionate in the food insecurity aspect of this, because I know if people had healthy food, they would be able to be more successful.
Right. Yeah, that was a really good response. I definitely agree. What about you, Michelle? Why would you consider yourself passionate about food insecurity?
I would say I consider myself passionate just because when I was growing up, I had to go through that. I feel like that definitely had an impact. And now being older and being able to come here and help people that would essentially go through the struggle of being able to find food, because like Karen mentioned, we can't function without food.
Definitely. Yeah. Both of you working with the food bank is really rewarding. Getting to help people experience less food insecurity and become more food secure. Karen, can you start by telling me what your favorite part is about working with the community?
So I work behind a desk a lot, so I get very happy when I happen to be able to go out to the community and go out to our distribution sites, because you see all these empathetic people, so grateful that we're out there in the rain, shine, just whatever weather conditions, to give them a hot meal. Like they're just so grateful. The majority of them are Spanish speaking, so they get also very happy that like I speak Spanish, and they just give me the biggest thanks in the world, saying that like, thank you, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have a meal for tomorrow. And I'm just very grateful to be able to provide that to them.
Yeah, that does sound really rewarding, especially when you receive that kind of support from people that appreciate what you're doing, because I'm sure it's not an easy job. So that definitely sounds like it would be rewarding. What about you, Michelle? What do you find rewarding about working with the community?
Something that I find rewarding with working with the community is that when I get to go out, I get to interact a lot with the people that are in need. I get to, they tell me their stories, and they also, of course, are always thankful, and some stories always do stick out. And it's so rewarding hearing how thankful they are, because I do know that they don't have enough money for their meals, and it is incredibly sad. For example, we have not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, I believe, we had been going out to Pajaro because of all the floods that had been happening, and a lot of the people were just saying how grateful and thankful they are for us being there, because they didn't have anything. They had just basically lost their homes. They had to evacuate with the stuff they had on. They were just able to pack a bag, and us being able to go out there and, just communicate, I think that's the most rewarding part of this job.
That is really great. Thank you guys so much for sharing those stories. That was really helpful in giving us some insight on what you guys do day to day and the kind of the community that you help. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk more about working with such a large organization, because I know the food bank for Monterey County is one of the bigger organizations in the county. I'm sure it can be pretty stressful with some ups and downs. Can either of you guys tell me a story or an event that happened that challenged you and was difficult during your time at the food bank?
I think just going back to what Michelle was saying about Pajaro, that was honestly a very challenging and hectic 2 to 3 weeks on our end. The Pajaro people were evacuated. So what we were doing was we were going daily to take them hot meals because they had no functioning. For the ones that did stay in their homes, I mean, they couldn't leave Pajaro. So we would take them hot meals on a daily basis. Plus, on the side of that, we would go visit the emergency shelters. We were happy at the end that we were able to do this, and the Pajaro families as well, very grateful.
Wow, that's really inspiring. I'm sure that is it safe to say that that would be like, while it was one of your most stressful moments, it was also like a proud moment for you guys that you were able to put in all that work and make such a difference. Fantastic. That's really great. So I want to switch gears a little again and talk more about the food bank for Monterey County in general and see if you guys have some insights that you'd be able to share with us today. So either one of you can answer these questions. I read on your guys' main website that the food bank for Monterey County works with 160 nonprofit partners. Do either of you know how the food bank chooses which partners they work with?
So I'm actually the one in charge of signing up all these agencies to partner with us. That is what my job entails, and we don't choose who gets to sign up. We just wait for people to just reach out to me saying, "Hey, I'm a nonprofit or I'm a church." Like faith-based organization. It's only nonprofits or church faith-based organizations that are able to partner with us. And they reach out saying, we have these many families that in our neighborhood that we know are food insecure. Can we sign up to be a partner agency with you guys? And then I let them know all the requirements and steps needed to sign up, which it's a basic application. They have to provide that they are a 501c3, like the actual IRS letter. And then we need to have them complete a food safety certificate because, of course, all of our food that we receive is donated. So we do ask that the agencies are food safety certified because we would want them to be checking for dates, best by dates, and make sure that the items aren't defective. And then we conduct in-person site visits just to see where they will be storing the food from the food bank. And honestly, without the partner agencies, we wouldn't be able to serve the huge amount of people that we currently serve because we only have like so many distribution sites on our end, like our direct food bank ones. But the agencies, they're located in the smaller neighborhoods where we're not able to like are either trucks are too big to get there, or we just aren't aware of those neighborhoods. But these agencies are, so then that's why they sign up and they are able to serve all the communities that we're not able to fully reach.
All right, thank you for that insight. That was really helpful to know that information. And I did not know that that was one of the roles of your job. So that's really interesting. Monterey County, I know, as both of you have mentioned, has a very large agricultural economy, yet people are still going hungry. Do you think that because Monterey County has such a large agricultural economy, that has impacted how much produce you're able to distribute?
I think we are very fortunate to be in Monterey County because of the agriculture business here. Because thanks to that, I think that is why our food bank gets a huge amount of produce donations, which is all completely free to the community or the agencies or the people that need it, or when we take them to our distribution site. So I think we have like the upper hand on that, where other food banks aren't as fortunate as our food bank is, because we could get all this fresh produce like directly here from like the agriculture capital, I guess you could say.
Yeah, definitely. I would think that that would be really helpful considering how much, agriculture we produce here in Monterey County. Yeah, that's great. That's definitely another thing. The behind the scenes work and the directly working with the community is definitely something that I could see makes you guys really successful. Going back to what we were talking about with so many people going hungry, but the agricultural economy being so robust, I'm really curious to know your perspective on why you think there might be that disconnect.
Maybe because the workers that are actually working out in the field are just getting paid this minimum wage job, and it's not even enough for them to go out and purchase the healthy food, essentially what they are harvesting themselves. And a lot of actually field workers are the main families that we serve at our distribution sites throughout the county, here in Salinas, in Greenfield, Soledad, King City, all the way down to San Ardo. Not, I don't want to say taking advantage of, but they know how to sell their product for high money, but then they pay their workers minimum wage because they know these people need jobs, and they'll do whatever it takes.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I really like that perspective that you shared. So I know you guys work with different organizations. Can you explain in what ways you work with different organizations to help relieve food insecurity within Monterey County?
Each organization that partners with us, they each work differently. The majority of them, I guess you can say, they're pantries. So what they do is they come here and we have an agency store, we call it, and it's set up like a grocery store, and the partner agencies that are signed up with us can come and essentially shop around for the food that we get here donated. And from then they take it back to their locations, and the majority of them rebag it like into just like brown paper bags, and it's a set bag that they just give out to families. Other organizations, they provide hot meals to the community. I know a few organizations that actually go drive out to where like all the encampments are at, or there's a few organizations that are actually like shelters, like Victory Mission and the Share Center. Those are shelters, and they provide hot meals to the people that are staying there at the shelters. And then other ones are, we get like after school programs like the YMCA that are more interested in fresh produce.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the COVID-19 pandemic and how it's impacted both food insecurity as well as how things operate within the food bank. So during the last 3 years, as we know, COVID has greatly influenced almost every aspect of our lives and how our community just functions as a whole. So I want to know, how has COVID-19 impacted the role of the food bank as well as food insecurity within the community?
when COVID-19 happened, we were serving a certain amount of families, and toward like a month or two into the pandemic, our numbers quadrupled from what they were before, and our distribution sites increased as well. We only had a limited amount of distribution sites. 10 a month, yeah. And then now I believe they're closer to 50 a month, all spread out throughout the county.
Yeah, actually, something I am aware is our distribution sites. For example, we would send for back then we would send for about 250 families, and now there's some sites that have gone up to 400, 600, and that's just for our distribution site.
Seems like the pandemic had quite a big impact on how many people were going hungry, and as well as on you guys as well, because you had more people that you had to help.
So essentially, the food bank never shut down. I believe if anything, I think we had to close down for one day.
So I want to move on to kind of community impacts and how how working at the food bank has impacted both of you guys. So can you explain further how your involvement with the food bank for Monterey County has impacted your life, as well as how you personally think about food insecurity?
I would say that working here at the food bank has actually impacted me a lot because, like I mentioned, going out and hearing all these people's stories and how they essentially have to pick between a good meal and paying their rent is just incredibly heartbreaking to me. Being able to experience that and all the gratitude from the people that we've helped has had a huge impact on me. I'm just so grateful that I was able to witness all that.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to end this interview by asking both of you guys, what do you wish that everyone would know about food insecurity?
I wish people knew that it wasn't just a black and white situation, that there's more to it. There's more to the problem. A lot of the times I hear that people say they make really good money with their jobs, but their mortgage is really high. So then they're not able to apply for these resources like food stamps. And that's very unfortunate because there's this stigma that if you get food stamps that you're just lazy or you don't want to work, judge them. And they don't really know the deeper problem with what's going on in their lives.
Yeah, I love that insight. What about you, Michelle? What do you wish everyone knew about food insecurity?
I just honestly wish people would understand that it is a real problem, and people need to understand that, just because you make a certain amount of money doesn't necessarily mean that you don't deserve help.
I think those were both really great answers. I want to thank you guys both for joining us.